Yee!
All right, now it's officially time. I've only tried to start like 4 times. It's okay. So, hello, my name is Tiffany. I am the owner of Tiffany Gordon Cosplay LLC, which is a company that focuses on costume and prop fabrication as well as education. This is going to be one of our more educational things. We're doing breastplate patterning, and I hope this will help you. This is actually what I do for a lot of my armor builds. I've been cosplaying since 2008, and it is now my actual main source of income and my job as of 2018. I'm most known for my Atlantic Mercy from Overwatch, my Ariel from Diablo 3, and also for winning BlizzCon last year with my Lilith. So, hello. Thank you. And I do have business cards on the back table. If you decide to leave a little early, that's fine too. If not, you can grab one after we're done. And then I do have my booth here. I also have tons and tons of patterns on my website, which is tiffanygreencosplay.com, both male and female patterns. I'm currently working on a whole wide range of breastplate patterns from size small to XXL to help everybody kind of get into the hobby. As well as I do tons and tons of tutorials on YouTube. So most of my patterns have a step-by-step tutorial that you can follow and make your own version. So yeah, but we are going to be doing our breastplate patterning now. For the people that are going to be wrapping, I hope y'all made friends and kind of told each other's names or something. So yeah, but we have 45 minutes to do this, or 50 minutes. Something. It depends. I know as a newbie it sometimes takes a little bit longer, so we're going to focus mainly on one side. So hopefully you can get a little bit of that done. So yeah, but as always, we're going to start by asking your partner if you have consent to wrap them. So if you are doing this, please make sure that you have consent. Sammy, my lovely model, do I have consent to wrap you? No, yes. Okay, in the panel, sorry. Okay, so for doing this, you don't need a model technically. You can do this on yourself, but it's a little bit harder to wrap yourself all the way around. So I always recommend having a friend wrap you or wrap somebody else. If you have a dress form or a mannequin, you can use that. Works just the same. You can also do the same method for clothing. So if you need to do a breastplate, or let's say a tight-fitted shirt, it's the same, just add a little bit of seam allowance. What you'll need is saran wrap, cling wrap, whatever you call this, don't know what y'all call it here. You'll need masking tape. I always like to use the Scotch brand, the unfortunately more expensive brand, because it actually sticks. Painter's tape is terrible, it does not work. Same with the green tape, but I know some people work on a budget. You can also use duct tape, works fine. You'll also need some scissors, because I'm sure you're going to want to escape out of it afterwards. Or if you're wrapping a friend, maybe you're just going to leave it in there. That's up to you. And then 2 Sharpies. And I always recommend 2 different colors, because I like to do one where I'm going to draw basically my sides as a guide. And then also I use a second color to draw my pattern with, so I don't get them confused, because once you cut it apart, you're going to want to know which piece goes to what, and this really helps. So we're going to kind of start off by wrapping. You can do this both male and female. My model is female with some stuff, So we're going to try to have 2 breasts and not 1 uniboob. For men, you can keep wrapping. But in general, you probably want 2 pieces. So I'm going to kind of go over how to do that, because most of the time when you wrap, if you just go in a circle, it's just flat here. And if you want an actual breastplate to like armor pieces, you want 2 pieces. So we're going to try to do that. So, let's see. Sorry. We're going to turn it off and do this. Oh no. I broke it.
Help!
Maybe the other way?
Other way.
Okay.
Ah,
Hey.
we did it.
Okay. I'm gonna try to do this and like scream into it. Ish. Ish. Okay. Saran wrap.
Various participants, get
Yes.
come.
Get your buddies.
Get your buddy. Get your buddy.
Okay.
Oh, they're over
so,
there. Yeah, we'll go in the middle.
I assume I have to take this off.
Okay, so we're gonna start with the center section. Typically, you want a more tight-fitted outfit, so that way you can get it more form-fitted. And we're gonna just wrap it around. The first part is a
Do
little
I have
tricky
deodorant?
because you have to have it cling to the saran wrap again.
Clean wrap.
Uh-huh. And we're gonna focus on this. We are not going to cover the breast area right now because we don't want a uniboob. No uniboob. Once I get to this part, we're going to go over the shoulder instead of going around.
Like
And
I'm gonna
we are
fly
going
away or
to
something.
do across the body.
Over the shoulder?
Yes.
So once you
You can just keep going around.
and go over the shoulder from up the back.
This reason is so we can cover one
One more
breast.
cycle. Just one more cycle.
Over your shoulder.
One more cycle. I'll come back. Come back.
Over here.
Teamwork, teamwork.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
And we're going to do the same thing on the other side, but this time I'm going under. And it really just depends on which way you're wrapping, just as long as you're doing a V. So that way you get two pieces and not one piece.
So kind of like a wrap dress style? Yeah, like a wrap dress.
Wrap dress, thank you.
We're here for you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Got this.
You know you know.
Yeah, so now we should have a little spot here.
I don't know how this works.
Right in the
I'm just
valley.
getting wrapped.
You're doing great. He has no boobs. So you're
You got,
doing the best
Sorry.
you got some breasts.
Facts.
And then we just go back cover until all the
So do
pieces
you then
are
go
covered.
under the arm?
Yep.
Yep. And go, yep, there you go. And then up the next shoulder.
I'm gonna be a great burrito.
Now be aware when doing this, you don't want to pull tight and you don't want to suck in. So if you are being wrapped, don't be skinny. Be as fat as you can be.
Oh, I can be fat.
Because your pattern, you're not going to be holding it in for a full day in costume. So you want to be as fat as you can be, so that way you have as much material when doing our wrestling afterwards.
So now what?
Oh,
You just do the shoulder thingy twice? Yeah, keep wrapping the shoulders.
Do you always go across or do you do the same side?
Just like an 8.
So with males, this is going around and then just kind of go over. So
So I did the X this way. Do I go up this way or do I go
I know it's just more to make sure you have the two parts. All right,
Yeah,
so
my leftovers
for
are
me, my
like-
model, for me, my model is now covered in saran wrap. I've been doing this a bit for a while now, so I can do this a little faster. Sorry for our captains that are trying to do it at the same time. You're doing great. We're just going to keep going on that. Now we're going to grab our masking tape. And as I said beforehand, we're going to be focusing on one side. Reason being is, most of the time, your pattern is going to be mirrored to the other side, and you don't need to do both sides. Also, it's going to make it where your model is a little more comfortable, because when doing this, it gets hot. You are wrapping yourself in plastic, and plastic does not breathe. So make sure there is AC in the room, the fan is going. Check on your model. Are you doing okay? Do you need water? Because you can overheat while doing this.
Yeah, that's assuring.
we could really go for some chicken tenders.
Yeah, you got plenty.
You got plenty.
The goal for this is to use the least amount of saran wrap as possible.
Now she says it. Yes. That's fine. You're just extra covered.
Sorry. I mean, you're fully covered, so.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to get our masking tape. Again, you do not want to pull it and put it as tight as possible, because you, at that point, are going to shrink your pattern. You want to make sure it is, I'm going to say loose, but it needs to attach, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Okay. She said it makes sense, so hopefully it makes sense to y'all. So,
Just gently place it. Don't pull it
I'm
taut.
not gonna pull and make it fit. I'm gonna let the tape naturally go where it wants to go, and that's gonna help prevent having tons of wrinkles in your tape. So let it
At their waist.
It's not a bank robbery or something.
it just depends on where you want your pattern to be.
So if you want the breastplate to go down further, then start lower. But if you want it to just cover your chest area, then start just all the way up.
So I start with one wrap, and that's just to make sure our saran wrap does not move or fall off. But at this point, now we can really focus just on one side. And I'm gonna just focus on this side, the right side, for our,
Look at that girl.
for all of our, I'm gonna just call y'all contestants, because that's just what I keep thinking in my head. So, contestants.
Yeah. Whoever does it.
Y'all can do whatever side you want. If you want to focus on, if you're going to do a small breastplate, it's like a bralette, then you can just cover a breast area. If you want to do a full cover, go for it, but you got a lot of time.
Can you do that again to the microphone, please?
It might be better if you switch it to you in the middle. Yeah, we can put it over here.
Yeah.
Pay someone to hold it for you.
I don't know where I started talking. Our contestants are here. They're racing to see who's going to finish first. There you go.
Wait, that's the goal?
So basically, for your first wrap with the masking tape, you want to go on the very bottom. This is going to ensure that your saran wrap does not fall off of your lovely model and it doesn't shift too much. And yeah, you're pretty covered.
You guys good.
At this point, because in general, most of the time you're going to have the same pattern on both sides, you really just need to focus on one side because after it's done, you can just mirror your pattern to the other side and you are good. If you have an ununiform body, of one side's bigger than the other, or whatever, then I would recommend doing both sides just to make sure you have that correct fit. So, yeah, I think that's what I had said out of the mic. Please just keep yelling at me if I'm not on the mic. I forget sometimes. Okay, we are going to focus on this side, because that's her good side, she said. So, there you go. And we're going to let the tape naturally go where it is. We're not going to try to bend it and pull it and stretch it. That's a no-go. You want it to just lay nice and then just kind of cover up the spots as we go. So, starting at the shoulder. And because we have lady bits, we're going to still do that X.
I have ladies with
So, if our partner's male, do we still do the X?
You can, you don't have to.
She goes? Oh yeah, she goes straight. Yeah.
Straight down the middle for the chesticles.
There you go.
This helps to ensure that you have two pieces. Depending on the type of clothes that you're wearing, she's got on a shirt right now. If you are a female, you may want to just use a bra because that's going to give you a closer fit to the breast area. If you have a shirt on, it's going to make it where you're more likely to have a uniboob. It just depends on what your goal is and what your pattern is. So.
That's what a year
And my
old
tape messed up, so I'm going to maybe.
All right,
You do it
like,
on your arms and legs really easily.
Okay.
When you're doing your body, it's
So now, we're not going to cover the breast, we're going to go around. You want a teardrop shape for each breast area.
I don't know how that would work.
At this point, for males, if you're covering and not a female, you're just covering the spots as much as you can.
Fill me with tape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just like cover from here down and tape.
Just if you don't see tape, put tape on it.
And for the breast area, I'm just going to kind of keep working back and forth to cover in that teardrop shape.
So yeah, so that the breast is a round part and then pull it back. So now the breast you have to make it have like a
Reminder to check on your contestants' friends. Make sure they're doing okay and not overheating.
Oh, I feel like a spam musubi. Spam musubi. Spam musubi. I feel like everything I wrap in spam wrap. That's what the food that I wrap in.
All right, so now I have the breast area done, and I'm going to kind of start filling more of the front.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Only beauty? Like an only beauty. Big old rice.
Also, if you are doing a neck collar piece, if you're going to do a pattern up there, make sure your hair is really up tight, because masking tape is not your friend of hair, especially the back neck hairs. Oh, it just ripped off. And then also, if you're doing any neck pieces, we're not going to do in this demonstration, be careful not to put it too tight and to choke yourself or choke your friend. So yeah.
Oh, I see.
And try not to, if you are the model that's being wrapped, try not to bend too much. The more you bend, the more wrinkles you're going to get in the masking tape as well.
Good posture.
Yeah, I'm like trying to exhale and it's like tight all of a sudden.
Do we have to tape it back as well?
Yeah.
Tape over your mouth.
Hey, the back,
Wrapped in, dude.
back me, farmer.
You do have back armor. It's important. You're now Scotch King Man.
All right, at this point, I've got the front done. Again, I'm going to be mirroring the pattern to the other side, so we're not going to focus on that side. So now, Sammy, can you please switch to the other side? There we go. And I'm going to move the mic to the other side and hopefully talk to it again. There we go. All right, so with that, again, we're going to be pulling the tape naturally where it wants to go. I tend to go not straight up and down. I still do in the kind of diagonal X marks, just because it seems to be the best with following the body. But just however you want to do it, as long as the model is covered in tape, well, that is the goal.
Trust me, they volunteer to do it. It's like leftover wedding cake. Bow vibe?
well, no.
Other thing, you got armpits. Be aware not to go too tight. And then when we do our patterns for armpits and for arms, make sure you're not doing your pattern directly under. Have it go a little bit down. This way you know where to kind of draw your lines and have everyone.
We leave that empty, right?
You're doing wonderful. Please come to my next workshop.
When's the next workout?
I don't know.
2 p.m.
Request me for next year and we'll do more.
Okay, so I guess we just put more tape then.
Do we tape
The
it?
solution is more tape, right?
So we tape
And
cover the holes.
don't forget the side part as well. Blue masking.
You go sewing it up where I'm going. I'm gonna get out of this in a month. Can't play baseball this season.
And we have wrapped her now. Contestants,
Whoa.
who has won?
No, you.
We're almost done. Y'all are doing great. Yeah.
Should I do more?
Awesome.
Yeah, you did right.
Yeah, so you will want to make sure when you're doing this, because we are mirroring, you want to make sure you are slightly over the center because you want to have your front line so you know where to mirror it. If you're not really covering all the spots here or on your back, it's a little bit harder to mirror your pattern. So yeah. So like for you, you'll want to have the triangle spot covered here and here.
You need to cover my triangle.
If you just do a line down the middle.
Yay!
And also break down the.
All right, now we're gonna do our Sharpies, and I like to use red and black. It's just what I've always done, and I use other colors for other like design parts, but these are the cheapest ones to buy. If you use other colors, you have to buy a variety pack, and that costs a little more money, and these are more easily obtainable. So yeah. But I start with the red one. The red one I'm gonna be using to draw basically my lines of. If you look at patterns for your fabric, typically there is a seam on the side. It goes straight up and down for your pants and for your shirts. We're going to be following that, as well as we're going to do one down the center and down the middle of the back. And then also, if our pattern is going to go to the neck, we want to draw our neckline. I also like to do an under breast line, so that way I know where exactly they kind of sit before we do our patterns. We're going to want to draw the line for where our armholes are going to be. And then most clothing also has a seam on the top. So we're going to draw a line there. And these are actually going to be lines that we're going to use to cut later. So I always find this the most easiest part because then you can know this is the front, this is the back, and these are where all the seams go. So I'm going to draw that real quick. And choose whatever colors you want, contestants. Don't make the wrong decision.
No pressure.
So starting in front with our center line.
Getting graded. I also can't draw a straight line, so that's my straight line. It's not a body though. Is it never straight?
Now I'm going to do the back.
I'm trying to remember what you said all the seams.
We're going to do the front,
Front seam down the
the
middle,
back. We're going to do the
and
side,
one down the back.
and then top.
And then arms.
Yeah. Okay, next I'm going to do the side.
Deodorant jack.
Hopefully you wore deodorant. And then we're going to do our top seam. I'm a short person. Okay, next. I'm going to do my lines a little different because I don't want an up top collar. So I'm actually going to kind of draw a little bit lower. For the demonstration, I probably should have gone a little higher, but you know.
To be fair, if you do it up here, I could always alter it to be shorter.
Pretend this is the neck.
Because if it's already cut like here. Yeah, just cut it.
And the last one is going to be the actual armhole. And again, you don't want it super, super close to the arm. You want it to be kind of naturally where your sleeve connects. So if you look at your shirt, where does that seam go? And that's kind of what I use as a guideline.
Oh, put more tape on it. Where's the tape?
Yeah, the back is so bad.
It's like not really.
I should just tape over it and do it together. Okay. I should not have tape on.
And then we're going to do our under breast line real quick. And for this, for our ladies, you're basically following the underline in your bra is kind of the part that we're going to be doing.
There, better.
Okay.
Like the
And if you don't have boobs,
Or the
skip
creases.
this part.
Or not, whatever.
It's up to you.
Well, there's a perfect crease where it goes.
There we go.
Man boobs.
Man boobs.
I do find sometimes with armor, if you were doing it for yourself, you may want to draw where certain parts are, so that way your ladies are fully covered. If you have one that is in a different spot, you want to make sure you know where that is and you are fully covered. Otherwise, you might have some issues. So that's something you might want to do on yours. I'm not going to do it on this one because we're live here. Okay. But that's pretty much all I'm going to be doing with this one. If you are going to go farther down, some other lines that sometimes I'll do is the waistline, so I know where the skinniest part is of my pattern. Also, if you are going even farther down, you may want to know, like if you're covering the bum area, you may want to know where the biggest part is, or your hip line. You know, just depends. You can do as many guidelines as you want. It really doesn't matter. Other thing is, for me, typically I don't do this, but if you are more new to making patterns, there's a little thing you can do with, I'm going to call them hash lines, but they're not that. I don't know. What are they? The little lines? Yes. Somebody said it. Thank you. That word.
Yes. We don't make the things for us. Words are hard.
You guys are professional.
Yeah, we do this.
So like that.
What?
So the registration mark, so basically you don't have to do this. I personally don't, but if you are more new to pattern making, this is when you cut your pieces apart. So like technically this would be if you're covering that side. You'd want to do it to the shoulder, to the sides, and this is when you cut them apart, when they're not one piece together, you can align the pieces together. So you
know what
connect
goes to what.
that to that, that to that. It helps you know to perfectly match them. But you don't have to do it. And now for the fun part, we're going to draw on the pattern, and the pattern is whatever you want it to be. Basically, it's going to be your design of, do you want the breastplate to come in a low V? Do you want it to be full coverage? Do you want it to be like completely under the breast, or do you want it lower, mid-waist section? So this is kind of where we're going to draw that on. You can also, a lot of times after I do this, I'll use a different color Sharpie if I have even more detail. So if there's like a swirly design on it, that's when you start to draw. So be creative, contestants, y'all are in a race. Or who's going to have the best design. Be creative. Go for it. You can't chase.
They all seem to. Yeah.
This part's a lot easier if you're actually looking at reference images of your character you're trying to make and not just come up random point blank. Yeah. And also remember, if you're looking at a reference image and drawing this, well, what I do, I have my image behind the model, so I'm looking directly at it and I'm drawing the design on the same side. If you're looking this way and you're doing the wrong side, your pattern's going to be off, so just be aware.
So I would not trust my friends. Knowing them, they would draw inappropriate.
I got the band, bro.
Get creative.
Yeah, I'm trying to like figure out.
Oh, wait.
Teacher, can you repeat what you just said?
I heard it.
Just do one dark.
Trying to figure out, look at the doors open.
Reminder to the contestants, check to make sure your buddy is okay and not overheating. Do they need water? Yes, because sometimes you might overheat and you might need to be cut out really quickly. So you
I smoke permanent marker.
Well, it'd have to be
A lot. This is where it goes.
So I just did a basic design. It's pretty much that. I'm not going to be creative right now. I've been at the con all day and I'm kind of brain dead. So this is our design. It's so fancy. And I just marked you with the Sharpie. I'm sorry. How dare you? I got to do the other side, right? Make it even. Okay. All right. So also, let's say I am drawing a fancy pattern and I'm going to use green this time. Swirly, swirly, swirly. Oh no, I messed up. What do I
Put
do?
more tape.
Oh no! We gotta throw the whole thing away, right? No! You have masking tape. This is your magic eraser.
I wish it was.
Yay!
Problem or
Grab your masking tape and cover up the issue like it never happened.
Like whenever. Because it totally did. Like,
Ta-da! And you'll still see it a little bit, but I mean, I don't really care. I just keep drawing. If it bugs you too much, you just put more teeth in it. But I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it. It's pretty easy once you get it done, figure it out, and kind of wrap. You can always practice this on like your arms or your legs if you're doing it by yourself. Biggest thing is don't overheat. Don't super wrap. Use the least amount of materials as possible. You save money that way. Yeah.
Go colorful.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't tell me that, because he'll be here for hours.
All right. So now Sammy wants to get out of it, so I guess we kind of need to cut her out. For the contestants, y'all can cut each other out, or you can walk around the con like this. Up to you. Whatever. But yeah, sword use scissors. Biggest thing when cutting someone out, be sure you do not nick them. Do not nick their clothes. For ladies, a big thing for cutting is if you are wearing a bra, don't cut the middle part. That tends to get in the way. Same with the back part. So it just depends. And I'm going to start at the bottom and slowly work my way up. I don't typically put the entire thing on. I'm not going to be going snip, snip. It's going to be snip, 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 snip. Very tiny, very tiny. Everybody has baby scissors from the school supply section. It's our contestants, so please don't hurt yourself so I can come back again. Thank you.
How far is medical? Just
It also
FYI.
helps to have your fingers under the pattern to kind of feel to make sure you're not cutting them as well.
And this part is why I say don't use a lot of saran wrap, because when you cut, if you have tons and tons of layers, you got to cut through all of those. But if you're doing tiny little snips, you're not necessarily going to cut through all of them, and you'll have to keep cutting down to make sure you get all of them. And it's just a pain. So.
I know the tighter it is, the harder.
Yeah. Stay down.
You got EMTs on site. It's not something you think about until it's too late. So, you know, let's start thinking about it.
Okay.
You're free.
Freedom! Freedom!
You're a cheater.
If it's wrapped a little tight, you can also cut the sides as well, or the back. Just depends. If you are fully covered and doing a full body, best of luck. I always do those if I'm doing legs and the top half and arms. I do them in 2 pieces, and I do a guideline where they match, because you don't want to stand like a mannequin the whole time. It gets very uncomfortable. So at this point, this is my lovely, lovely pattern. And I'm OCD, so I cut things a certain way. You do not have to do it how I do it. But basically where all of our marks are, we're going to cut. If you want to do more, say the word again?
Registration.
Registration lines. I cannot say that word. Thank you very much. This is where you would want to draw it on your pattern.
A quarter length of
Yeah, that's a good one. Yep, more. Okay, there's my lines. And then I'm just going to kind of cut that out right now.
It may be tight.
Awesome. Okay. I got it.
Actually, no, we have
You're doing it this way.
Yes, if I would back.
Yeah.
Give me a sec to cut them all out, and then I'll go kind of to the next step.
Yeah.
You're free. It's a vest now.
It's a vest! Awesome. So technically you can also make sewing patterns like this as well.
Do I also cut the back?
No.
You do. So you can take it off and then
Well, thing is, it's kind of taped to his shoulder.
Oh,
then
yeah.
gently remove it.
Oh, I missed that part where
I mean, you looked awesome. You should have kept it on.
Oh yeah, that's a new fashion statement.
No, I was gonna look at the. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, feel free, contestants, to show off your stuff in the
I'm
area.
gonna try and fix the engine. Wait. That's always a solution. More tape.
Yep, tape is your best friend in this situation.
Duct tape. You can't fix stupid, but it's down.
All right, so this is what it is. So if you notice, I've got extra saran wrap, and I didn't do that much. I don't like the extra pieces because I find that it constrains the pattern more for laying it flat. At this point, I get OCD and I cut all of it out. So yeah, but I kind of told him I can do all of it, but I got it. Oh yeah. I'll take this one. I'll take it. Actually, yeah. He's tired. Exactly. Oh wait, no. Actually, you're right now. You cut it in the back. Cut it and then like. So now we have our piece, and at this point, a lot of times I will have the model come back up here, and I will put it on to kind of make sure it still is what I want.
Keep turning to the left so your hair is
Well, okay.
Yeah. It was pretty good. Okay, now you can take off this. Okay, so at this point, we have two lines still, so we have a shoulder and we have a side. So I'm going to now cut it. So we should now have two pieces. Also, make sure all of your scrapadoos are to the side and don't get mixed up with your actual pattern, because you would hate to throw them away.
You'll figure it out.
So now we have two pieces, and the idea for patterns is to have them lay flat. Well, we got to the top because we got ladies, and your back kind of has a little bit of a curve, but sometimes it can be flat. So it depends on what you want, but we're going to start with the back. So the idea is we're going to get a pattern and lay it on the table and kind of see what parts don't go flat. You don't want to push it down because then it's going to crinkle it. You want to just see first. So we're going to do that. Ah, yes, it doesn't lay flat. Yeah. Okay, so for that, typically with clothing, a lot of times with shirts, when you want it to be form-fitting, there is a seam on the top that goes here, kind of midway between the center and the side, and it goes partly down. Now you can make this into two pieces, but I mean, I like to keep it as one piece. It also depends on your body size and your foam. So if you're making this out of HE foam or EVA foam, and you have very little foam left, you may want to make this into smaller pieces, because smaller pieces are easier to cut out rather than one large piece. But you'll have more seams to cover up later, so it just depends on what you want. Oh, I'll just draw it first. So basically, what we're going to cut is right here. I'm going to try to do this while seeing through it. And we're going to cut down kind of like that until the piece lays flat.
You have to cut off more.
Not cut off, just cut a line down.
This is so you have your pattern.
Oh.
What are you doing?
So now, I'm going to exaggerate it so y'all can see better, but you have a little bit of a curve, and now the piece will lay flat. So this is our back piece. It is done. If you want to continue, you can cut that down, but I would recommend if you're going to keep cutting down, do your registration marks so you know which piece is which. At this point also, you're going to start having more pieces. So you might want to label it the back. Typically how I do my patterns is I do it alphabetically, so if this is 2 pieces, I would do A, B, and then I'd also write that this section connects to this piece, so I would put like A connects to A.
So we're working on the back currently trying to make it flat.
Yes. Do you have your back cut into 2 pieces?
No.
It needs to be cut down the center.
The front is put down in the center.
Yes, so both pieces are that. Alright, so now for the front piece, and this is the more complicated piece. If you are male, it won't be as complicated. If you are female, it will. And pretty much, we're going to be cutting underneath the breast area first. This is so that way it's a lot easier to connect this lower piece to the breast cup. And I'll draw that line in green so y'all can see it.
What are we doing?
We're doing the breast area. Your goal is to make everything as flat as possible for male. And this is where a lot of times you'll follow that guideline that you did earlier. So that green line is where I'm going to put it now. Again, I'm going to put the registration marks. And then we're going to cut it.
Somewhat flat.
It'll be fine.
Okay.
What about this one?
So your bottom piece should now be this. Most of the time it lays flat. And it does. Then the top half, you have this. Now depending on how blessed you are, will depend on how to do that shape. Now if you are more enhanced, it is better to make this just a completely separate piece. And I'll draw that in green, but I'm not going to cut it out. So typically for more enhanced women, I would cut this part separate from this. So that way this part can lay flat and I can focus on more of the volume. And then typically I'll cut it in this shape. We're doing rainbows. So you'll have an arch following, another arch, and then a separation at the bottom. Now again, depending on your shape, you may need more lines. You may need to put this line where it actually connects all the way, and you have 2 pieces. It really just depends on your shape. And then again, registration marks and say which piece is which. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out because I don't want to draw anything. Oh yeah.
Not anything for me.
You can sand it, you can use sand clay, you can do... Alright, so now our pieces, we have the top piece, this was the top rainbow, and then our 2 bottom pieces cut up. And that will be all of our patterns for this breastplate. And I'll go ahead and label it, and then if you want to come up later to see it all flat, you can. But that's pretty much how to do this. I will recommend, if you are going to put this straight onto foam, what we're going to do is add a tiny bit of a seam allowance. Because if you're teeny tiny, you don't need that much. But in general, you might have a little bit of a curve, and depending on the thickness of your foam, so if you are doing 4mm foam, you don't need to add as much seam allowance, probably just about a centimeter, right, centimeter? Okay, make sure my measurements are correct. I work in millimeters, so. If you're working in more 10mm foam, you're going to want to do more of an inch seam allowance, 2 inches, just because the foam is thicker and it doesn't bend flat. So it takes up more volume around, so you want to add more. If you are a more bigger person in size, I would recommend adding even more seam allowance and then making sure that it can fit you fully. It's a lot easier to cut foam rather than add foam. So yeah, that's kind of the goal. But if you have more questions, you can ask me later. I also have tutorials on this on my YouTube channel, which is Tiffany Gordon Cosplay, youtube.com/Tiffany Gordon Cosplay. I have tons of patterns on my website, which is also TiffanyGordonCosplay.com. You can follow me on any of my socials. So yeah, and make sure to come and see me at my booth in the entertainment hall, in the cosplay section. I'll be there all weekend in different costumes, as well as have a wonderful anime expo and business cards at the back. Thank you.